Before arriving on this island, I would have dismissed the idea of a device instantly transporting a person from one location to another as complete and utter poppycock. Yet, that appears exactly what the strange platforms beneath the obelisks are capable of doing. Astounding. Yes, there was a dragon on the other side. I'm sure Mr. Nerva and his men fought quite the heroic battle, but discovering another slobbering beast is trivial in comparison. Imagine, one could go from one side of the globe to the other in the blink of an eye, and I'll wager that is just the start of the obelisk's capabilities. I must learn more. I must!
When Nerva and his band return from the cave, they'll decide my fate. So this may be my final chance to reflect. I may as well take advantage of it. I realize that had I just ignored the signs and accepted this paradise at face value, I'd still be happy and free.
Beelzebufo palucocus is the largest frog I've ever seen. Almost impossibly large. It can actually fit a full-grown human adult on its back, though just barely. This is a dangerous prospect, though, as secretions from Beelzebufo's skin and saliva have enough...
Any chemist worth his salt knows the irreplaceable value of testing. Until a tonic has been rigorously tested, it is less useful than water. If only I could persuade this island's less intellectual inhabitants to see that tests on Mesopithecus serve well for early trials, but they are no replacement for genuine human subjects at later, safer stages. By subjects, I of course mean willing participants that are prepared to risk mild headaches and much less mild nausea for the sake of science. The Laughing Skulls offered rather less willing participants at one point, but I declined. With how difficult it is to find volunteers these days, I sometimes regret it.
What magic created the Scarabeei Gigas, I cannot say. What I can say is that this creature is a perfect symbiont for advanced human tribes. Coprophagic, it eats mostly useless waste, feces. It metabolizes this waste into a more refined waste product, along with an oily byproduct. The oily byproduct is chemically the same as the oil found in the oceans around the island. Somehow, Scarabeei converts feces into oil. If that wasn't reason enough to worship the Scarabeei, the refined waste product is almost identical to fertilizer from a compost bin. Scarabeei makes me think humans have been on the island for a long time. Why else would a creature evolve to be such a perfect pet? Most tribes jealously protect their Scarabeei, whom are handily tamed with the skilled use of some well-handled feces. These wondrous little organic biofactories are truly a sustainable, green, eco-friendly source of resources for living off the land. Oil becomes gas, which is generator fuel. Fertilizer means crops, which is human fuel. Scarabeei can power all aspects of island life.
The fact that this creature exists is enough to give me nightmares. Like the island's other arthropods, Arthropleura felsanguis has become much larger than I might have believed possible. It's a very aggressive hunter, but prefers to eat meat after it has rotted for some time, and will voraciously seek out such delicacies. Arthropleura's blood has a very low pH, to the point that it can dissolve many materials. This acidic blood splashes back on anything that directly attacks it, weakening the durability of weapons and hurting attackers. Many creatures thusly refuse to prey on Arthropleura, fearing this unique defense. If that wasn't enough, Arthropleura also keeps a small reservoir of blood ready to spit at its prey. Like most of the arthropods on the island, Arthropleura is simple-minded and relatively easy to tame. It is an almost entirely military mount, useful mostly for attacking at a distance. Thanks to its unique defences, whether hunting or warring, Arthropleura is generally safe from all but the largest of creatures.
Miss Walker's impromptu visits are always an unexpected pleasure. After that headache with the sharks and Blackfoots, a lively tea-time discussion about the abnormalities of the Ark's ecosystem was precisely what I needed. Thank goodness I've managed to find an intellectual colleague that shares my love for the sciences. It saddens me to think that Miss Walker's charming colonial accent would keep her out of the more prestigious institutions and societies back home. Another of the Ark's wonders, it is a true meritocracy, unlike any in the modern world. If Miss Walker and I could find and cultivate more minds like ourselves, we could create a true scientific utopia.
Dimorphodon equisica is another of the island's Jekyll and Hyde creatures. It is normally passive, sometimes even friendly. When provoked, it becomes very aggressive. Even against larger creatures it has no business fighting, often to its own fatal end. Dimorphodon can make short work of smaller opponents, however, due to its large but lightweight skull and teeth. Barely over 1 metre tall, Dimorphodon should be low on the food chain, but its incredible speed and surprisingly strong bite make it fairly dangerous, especially en masse, as they tend to attack in groups. A flock of angry or hungry Dimorphodon can take down prey several times their size, so survivors should take care not to hunt near where a flock is gathered. Dimorphodon is one of the creatures on the island that is easily domesticated for companionship, but its use in combat is also quite clear. It will hunt in large groups to seek out enemy dino riders directly, harassing them to no end, regardless of the might of their mount.
Greetings and salutations, dear reader. If these words are gracing your eyes, then you have had the good fortune to find the journal of Sir Edmund Rockwell, stupendous scholar, gallant gentleman, and explorer extraordinaire. It also means that it's entirely possible that I've met some unseemly end on this fascinating but exceedingly dangerous island that I call home. I suppose you could have also stolen it, or I could have misplaced it, in which case, please proceed to either hang your head in shame or return it to me at once, whichever is appropriate. Regards, Sir Edmund Rockwell.
Lording over the skies across the island, Argentavis atracolum has few aerial rivals. It is a small consolation for the island's other avian creatures, then, that Argentavis seems to have little interest in anything alive. Argentavis is actually slower than the island's far more common pteranodon, but it possesses significantly more stamina and can sustain flight for approximately 3 times as long. Its weighty stature, in comparison to the pteranodon, allows it to utilize its talons to support the weight of an additional passenger. Considering its saddle doubles as a mobile crafting station, it makes Argentavis an excellent creature for traveling and hauling cargo over long distances. Quite apart from what I would have guessed, Argentavis does not have the stooped neck typical of modern buzzards and vultures. I don't know if it adapted this stronger neck to deal with the predators on the island, or if its lineage derives from before the stooped neck became common in carrion-eating birds. Whichever it meant to be, it has enabled Argentavis to carry smaller creatures with its beak.
This is the smoking gun. It has to be. I simply can't be convinced that this place is natural. After finding an island populated entirely by carnivores, even if they fed off each other, which is awfully dubious given that carnivore meat is much more likely to carry harmful parasites than herbivore meat. The landmass is so small and their population is so dense that they could never maintain it. Yet there it is, hidden away off the northeast coast of the island. Someone would have to put them there on purpose. There's no way that Rockwell can deny my theory now.
Approximately 1 metre long, the Archaeopteryx magnamealvum is a primarily tree-dwelling protobird. It avoids the ground as much as possible, preferring to stay in the safety of the tree line, where few predators can reach it. I've not seen an Archaeopteryx outright fly yet, so it's possible that they cannot generate enough lift to do more than glide along distances between perches. I'm not sure how a creature so fearful of the ground can be such a picky eater, but Archaeopteryx only seems to consume certain rare insect matter. The most likely explanation is that it tends to nest in infested trees, stripping them bare of such food sources. While not large enough to bear the full weight of an adult human, Archaeopteryx still has great utility. Despite the creature's inability to fly, its wings have sufficient strength to dramatically slow the rate of a person's descent, if that person holds onto Archaeopteryx while airborne. Taming Archaeopteryx can be somewhat troublesome though, as it refuses to eat most common food sources and glides to prospective safety at the first sign of any interloper.
As I expected, Rockwell couldn't deny my theory. But I can't say that I have his endorsement either. He didn't seem terribly engrossed in the subject, frankly. Something else seems to have captured his attention as of late. The island's obelisks. Apparently, Rockwell stumbled upon a way to interact with the towering monuments while spelunking. Of all things. I guess he felt the need to scratch that old intrepid explorer itch of his. It's pretty impressive, considering his age. Now that I think about it, the obelisk could be linked to my own findings. Their nature has always been a mystery, and Rockwell made some intriguing observations. I should follow up. I've been received by the Iron Brotherhood, they didn't seem very pleased to see me. Especially when I mentioned Rockwell. That's a first. Add to that the rather deserted, gloomy state of their compound, and I'm starting to feel a bit apprehensive. Their leader can't return from his hunting expedition soon enough. All I've confirmed so far is that, yes, they gathered all of the artifacts Rockwell sought, and yes, the artifacts were able to activate one of the obelisks. You'd think they'd be celebrating such a monumental discovery. But it's just killjoys as far as the eye can see. Go figure. Now, I know you don't get a nickname like Beast Queen without being one tough lady. But when I saw that giant ape, I still thought we were buggered. Fortunately, Mei Yin's got more intestinal fortitude than yours truly. And somehow, some way, she was able to pull out a win. Glad I'm on her good side. I already found the second key, but I want to take a look around here before we head back through the portal. This ape either lived here, or was released when we activated the obelisk. Finding out how it survived in this isolated environment, or how it got here, could prove useful. After going over my notes from Mei Yin's camp, I've concluded that the animals on this island are not only used to humans, but used to captivity. Even with their accelerated growth rates, their behavior indicates that they have been regularly domesticated, for decades at least. Otherwise, they'd never obey the whims of mankind so easily. With that in mind, I believe that my theory about this island being curated is back in play. In fact, it's possible that not only are animal populations being controlled, but that the animals themselves are genetically modified. However, before I bring this to Rockwell, there's one more rumor that I want to confirm. Gigantopithecus fibrirator is a strange creature. It is usually quite passive, but it has a very short temper when it comes to its own personal space. Once another creature gets close, this gentle giant quickly becomes a rampaging beast. Best to give them a wide berth. I have occasionally seen Gigantopithecus jumping to grab vines that it can traverse and swing on, but otherwise, it seems most happy to lay about, picking berries from plants lazily. In addition to being at home picking berries, a tamed Gigantopithecus can be taught to harvest the fibers found on many island plants as well. It appears to be entirely content to pick at plants all day, eat the berries, and carrying fiber resources for its tribe. Playful once tamed, Gigantopithecus seems to enjoy throwing the creatures or riders it's carrying into the air. It probably feels that this activity is a game, but clever brigands can use this game to vault over walls and small cliffs. Unbelievable. The artifact perfectly fits one of the slots in the platform's pedestal.
How did I not notice that right away? I really am a dipstick.
So if this key, such as it is, was acquired by activating one of the obelisks, then it follows that the other two keys can be obtained by activating the other two obelisks. Then, with all three keys, maybe this platform will lead to whatever is controlling the island's ecosystem. If the other obelisks work the way that the first one did, that means I have to find a whole mess of artifacts first. And I don't think I can do that alone. This Nerva bloke's fig jam incarnate. He seems to think he's Jupiter's gift to the island or some rubbish like that. I think his ego was actually tangible when the Legion returned from the obelisk with the third key and the head of a dragon in tow. Sadly, as much as I would enjoy seeing him fall flat on his face, I need him, and I need the new Legion. So when he asked me to guide his forces to the hidden cave, I obliged without protest. What he'll do with me afterwards? I don't know.
Unlike many of the herd animals on the island, Ankylosaurus crassicutus tends to live in small family units. I believe they can afford to stick with smaller groups because of their incredibly thick skin, for which they're named. Despite not being among the largest of the island's herbivores, Ankylosaurus is one of the more difficult creatures to take down. Its thick, armoured skin seems to make it more than a match for several of the mid-sized predators that would otherwise hunt it. Reckless carnivores are just as likely to hurt themselves on Ankylosaurus spikes as they are to get hit by its tail. Without a doubt, the best trait of a trained Ankylosaurus is its enormously dense tail. This tail is powerful enough to quickly shatter the resource-laden rocks of the island. One of the wealthier human tribes on the island utilises a squad of ankylosaurs in its mines and quarries. The creature's affinity for metal enables it to carry raw ore at an effectively reduced weight. Found in smaller numbers within the island's colder regions, Chalicotherium obsidiequus is normally a peaceful herbivore that prefers to spend its days lazing about or playing with its family. It is very territorial, however, and the entire family, young and old, will turn against an encroaching creature at just the slightest provocation. A memorable scene to stumble upon is a group of Chalicotherium playing. One odd playtime activity for Chalicotherium is hurling large balls of snow or mud rocks at each other. Smaller creatures in the area shy away from Chalicotherium during this exertion for fear of being buried in snow or gravel. While many creatures are useful while attacking a fortress, Chalicotherium can be trained as mobile artillery. Its unique playtime habit becomes a rather devastating long-range assault tactic when it is given boulders to throw, rather than snowballs. Among giant creatures I've seen on the island, Brontosaurus lazarus is larger than any sauropod I've read about. In fact, the dinosaur is so massive that it serenely ignores most other creatures. I've seen a pack of raptors tear apart small dinosaurs while Brontosaurus continues eating, seemingly oblivious to the hunting pack. Because of how docile it is, the Brontosaurus makes for an ideal pack animal. Peaceful tribes use it to carry incredible quantities of resources, while warring tribes use it to mobilize their army. Its size and strength make it one of the unique creatures on the island that can support a platform saddle. Unfortunately, its enormity means that the process of taming a Brontosaurus can take a very long time. Some may think this is an Apatosaurus, Dreadnoughtus, Argentinosaurus, or some other sauropod. But this is a strange island, and I'm the one doing the research. I'm convinced that this genus is Brontosaurus, and no one can tell me otherwise. My study, my rules. Despite being one of the island's largest creatures, Diplodocus insula princeps is among the island's smaller sauropods. Instead of size and intelligence, Diplodocus developed faster maximum speed and greater endurance. When fully matured, it generally only reaches about half the size of the rather enormous Brontosaurus. Diplodocus is another creature whose continued survival on the island confuses me. It's a very thick-headed and trusting animal, often to its fatal detriment. It never flees from predators until after they've attacked it repeatedly, preferring instead to make numerous fruitless attempts at friendship. For some strange reason, Diplodocus trusts humans so much that it doesn't seem to fight back against them. Ever. Due to Diplodocus' smaller frame, it cannot support the type of platform saddle that other large creatures can. To make up for this, many tribes instead use an 11-seater passenger saddle, which enables Diplodocus to safely transport 10 additional riders. These passengers often use ranged weapons to protect the creature, or to attack nearby enemies while on the move. Didocurus custosaxum is one of the island's non-aggressive herbivores, generally found in the mountains and grasslands. Large and well-armoured, it has a supply of fat under its plates to keep it warm and fed in the cold. Didocurus has adapted well to the dangers of the island, perhaps even better than the Ankylosaurus. Didocurus has two very different reactions to predators. Against smaller foes, it generally uses its spiked tail to inflict as much damage as possible. Against larger predators, however, it pulls its tail underneath itself to form a solid armoured ball that is nearly impossible.
The system has existed for eons. Considering all the variables, it has adapted well. Much like you, it has toiled to reach its goals. And it has overcome many obstacles. However, the scale is larger. The struggle is longer. In organic beings, age can slow reflexes and dull thought. Not so with the system. The speed and efficiency of its calculations are not in doubt. One could argue they're the problem. If a function has a 0.001% chance to cause an error, but it's only run a dozen times, an aberration is unlikely. But 1 trillion times? Then it's inevitable. More time, more errors. A drop turns to a trickle to a flood. As I said, everything is finite. The system is no exception.
The best adjective to describe Canis maxdyrus is scary. This pack animal is a cunning and brutal predator, capable of taking down prey of nearly any size. In addition to being a vicious hunter, it is the size of a small horse, meaning even the largest predators aren't necessarily safe from the packs. Unlike most creatures on the island, Canis is a dedicated pack hunter and rarely hunts alone. When in a pack, Canis are naturally spurred to fight for their lives with increased effectiveness, while the most experienced Canis will be designated Alpha and gain an even stronger enhancement. The species has an incredible affinity for teamwork. Obviously, Canis is a thrilling battle mount. It is fairly fast, very strong, and agile. It can leap almost as well as the island's battle cats. Riding a supercharged Alpha Canis into battle at the head of a bloodthirsty pack is a thrill for which most warriors would gladly proclaim, "Today is a good day to die." If utilized correctly, Canis can be a useful aid in your discovery efforts. It has developed a keen sense of smell that enables it to detect things that most creatures can't. I've even seen them used to find creatures that are hidden beneath the surface. Well, the Howling Wolves are quickly tracking down the artifacts. But after hearing about what happened to the Iron Brotherhood, that's as far as they'll go. It's understandable, but it leaves me in a tight spot. If a giant spider and I get in a scrap, the spider's winning for sure. Even with Athena on my side, I prefer to avoid danger, not confront it. My aim's piss poor, and I've got fists like marshmallows. If I want a fair go at actually surviving whatever happens when the obelisk activates, I'll need backup. Negotiation notes. Don't mention feces. Don't look directly at the glare. Bring chili. Unburned. I suppose it was a bit naive of me to think that someone with the moniker of Beast Queen would roll out the red carpet. I guess I got used to all of the friendly treatment that being an associate of Rockwell's earned me. Well, she did let me stay at least. And she hasn't instructed her dinosaurs to kill me yet, so that's a positive. Not that she'd really need the dinosaurs. If that glare of hers gets any more intense, I'll probably just burst into flames on the spot. Struth, I hope she eases up. Sifting through raptor excrement with someone watching is harder than you might think.
Eureka! My theory was correct. The small podium at the base of the obelisk is definitely responding to the artifact's proximity and vice versa. Honestly, I feel foolish for not attempting this sooner. The stylistic similarities between the artifacts and the obelisks floating above the island seem so obvious to me now. Clearly, they were created within the same culture and era. Bizarrely, while both the artifact and obelisks are in exquisite condition, there are no other signs of this mysterious civilization. How could that be? What kind of mad society would gallivant about some remote island, building towering structures and stuffing knickknacks into caves before vanishing without a trace? I don't understand it, but it certainly piqued my curiosity.
Pachycephalosaurus is a bit of a conundrum. It is a very passive, even friendly herbivore, common to much of the island. At the same time, it is one of the most dangerous herbivores that I have yet encountered on the island. Its charging headbutt is a display of sheer physical power and can kill much more quickly than you might think. While Pachycephalosaurus is generally friendly, it has a short temper. Its fight or flight response always seems to choose fight. The Pachycephalosaurus becomes extremely aggressive once attacked. Additionally, it is an incredibly fast sprinter, so escaping from an enraged Pachycephalosaurus is very difficult. Pachycephalosaurus is an excellent battle mount for those who want to ride a smaller, nimble combatant into the fray. Because of its particular musculature, it cannot effectively carry large quantities of resources. It can, however, move with brief, magnificent bursts of speed, and its headbutt is simply devastating.
Having readily available subjects has helped my experiments tremendously, even if their numbers dwindled over time. Not only was I able to curb the side effects of my freer curry's endothermic properties, but I managed to bring out an additional benefit of the mixture. Now it also lowers the subject's metabolism, letting them go longer without needing food. Marvelous! I hadn't even considered that as a possibility. Why, with all I've learned from these experiments, I imagine that I could reverse the effects of the curry and create a concoction to aid survival in extreme heat as well. I must find more volunteers, post haste.
Equus magnus appears to be an ancestor of the modern horse. Based on its stripes, it may be the African variant of Equus giganteus, which appeared in North America during the Ice Age, but that is pure conjecture. Its behavior in the wild is similar to that of other wild members of the Equus genus. It sustains itself by grazing, while keeping safe from predators by living in herds and outrunning its attackers via superior speed and stamina. Horse and man have long been partners in survival, and this remains true on the island. In Equus, survivors will find a trusty steed or pack animal that can carry them swiftly across land. Taming an Equus has proven interesting. Requiring Paraceratherium gigamicus is a massive, long-necked herbivore that inhabits some of the island's grasslands. It resembles a gigantic horse/rhinoceros hybrid, but is over twice the size of either. Paraceratherium is a very peaceful and friendly creature. Barring some surprises yet in store for me, I can safely say that Paraceratherium is among the largest mammals on the island. While its size means that Paraceratherium can provide an incredible amount of food, it also makes it dangerous when hunted. A beast of burden second to the Brontosaurus, Paraceratherium is an excellent worker and is sufficient in size to support a platform saddle upon which structures can be built. It is a naturally friendly animal and is not afraid of humans. However, despite its normally calm demeanor, when it or its owner is provoked by aggression, the Paraceratherium can quickly become a real threat to the attacker and will use its girth to its advantage in combat. Meganeura quadpenna is an especially large species of dragonfly. Actually, it is a type of griffinfly, an extinct species of invertebrate that looks similar to dragonflies. Like most griffinflies, Meganeura is carnivorous, but it is typically not aggressive towards humans unless provoked or challenged for food. It lives primarily in the wetter, heavier, wooded areas, such as the jungles. Meganeura is a natural predator of most of the smaller insects on the island. Though not often aggressive, Meganeura will not turn down a free meal. They quickly appear in large numbers to scavenge off the victims of Pulmonoscorpius, rendered unconscious and unable to defend themselves. Of course, the insects do have to avoid the Pulmonoscorpius itself. I have noticed it is unwise to disturb a flock of feeding Meganeura. The size of the insects on the island confounds me. The way these creatures diffuse oxygen should limit their size, but Meganeura and other bugs seem to be able to advance beyond this restraint. If there is more oxygen in the air, this could explain Meganeura's growth.